of a time you are committing on. All right. So now when I go back and ask you, how did you come about this 35 minutes or 30 minutes? Did you measure the distance between your home and your workplace, divide it by velocity at which you can basically go to that place, and then try to arrive at the answer? That is one question. Or, okay, if at all you did not do that, then how did you arrive at it? You basically arrived at it by of your real experience. When I say that you have real experience, what does that mean? You are someone who is traveling between your workplace, okay, and your home every single day. So what does that mean? Every single day you have one observation that you have made. So what does that mean? Again, you are as though like on Monday you went from your workplace to your home. It took about 35 minutes. On Tuesday you made the same thing. Some 37 minutes. Saturday, every single day you are trying to do all round the year. So effectively you have got 365 samples of this information. From all of these things, you basically inferred on something saying that okay, it takes lagbag about like some rough estimation of 35 minutes or 40 minutes or 1 hour kind of a time. Okay. So what did you do? This is basically called your statistical mechanism, right? So what does the statistical mechanism mean? Yeah, you have a lot of collection of this data. From this data, you are able to infer how long does it take. So what does AI do? AI basically does this. Okay, what is AI? So traditionally we were trying to use your logic and also reasoning and arithmetic to solve your problems. Okay, but when it comes to your what you say, your AI, it does not solve your problem on the basis of any of your logic, arithmetic, and also this thing. Okay, then what exactly is that using? It simply uses, okay, what is the given data pattern? Try understanding what is under the hood, like the kind of a mathematical equation derivation is what happens under the hood. And that basically leads to this. Okay. So just to have an, again, a quick understanding, you can see some values on my left on my screen, right? So 1, 2, 3, there is a missing value. 5, 6, 7, there is a missing value. If I try to ask you, buddy, what are the missing values? You are quick in your response saying that, sir, like it is 4 and also 8 are the missing values. Okay. But what if I try to ask you what is the nth value? Then you'll simply try to compute and then come back and then say, saying that like, okay, either there is two ways to approach this problem. One way to approach this problem is like count until the nth value and then try to communicate. Okay. If not, you are supposed to be smarter to create a mathematical equation which will solve your problem, right? So like, okay, I can ride a vehicle at 50 kilometers per hour, okay, given there is no traffic. So in a new place, when someone asks me how long would it take me to reach a specific destination, I would just ask like, sir, like how much is the distance? Let's say someone says like it is 60 kilometers distance, then I would commit upon saying that like, sir, I think I will make it in maybe 1.5 hour kind of a thing, because I have some kind of an velocity to distance metrics, right? So like this is something what I do too, right? So there is a mathematical equation what you build. Okay. So in the perspective of an AI, we always say there is something called model, right? ChatGPT is an software tool. GPT-4, GPT-5, GPT-3, 3.5, whatsoever your call, that is basically called your model. Okay. What is a model? Model is nothing but your this math equation. Okay. So let's not really go deeper from there. But the idea is like it is a statistical data. You have your data. From your data, you're basically deriving this all of your math. Okay. So from this math, you're basically building something called your model. Okay. This model is something which is enabling you to, yeah. So like this model is something which is helping you in discovering for all of your futuristic inputs. All right. So this is one simple logic. You can look at the other logic. So there is something called 1, 2, 3, 2, 4, 6, 3, 4, 7, 9, 10, 19, 10, 20, and a question mark. Again, missing value. So the idea is like, again, you can see the third value is basically combination of your first two sets of values. Okay. That is something what we are trying to discover. So again, The math equation is not always linear, but it also a combination of your other entities, which again are called your feature vectors with the names of feature vectors, outcomes or labels and all that stuff, right? So this is essentially an AI. What is AI? AI is basically, in a nutshell to tell you, it is basically your experience housing. Okay. So what does experience mean? So we basically made a statement, right? Saying that it takes for me to reach from my place to my workplace some 35 minutes. This is an observational data, what I have it in the form of a data set. So from this data set, I am basically deriving this statistical information, right? So effectively, that is what is AI, all right? So a textbook definition goes in this way, saying that giving a capacity to a machine to learn how to come about the solution, right? Given your problem statement, how are you going to arrive at your solution is nothing but your machine learning, right? So there is also something very much more precise to understand. So in a textbook definition says it is an hypothetical function computed on the basis of currently available inputs and outputs to predict probable output for the futuristic inputs. So now let's try to understand these three terms, because these are most important terms when we try to deal with AI. So the output is called predicted, and the output is also probable, and futuristic inputs. What does that mean? Let's try to understand this better. So now let's say there is a question saying that how long would it take for me to reach from this place, or like my home to my workplace, okay, is a question. And when I try to ask you how long would it take to travel on Sunday or on Monday, or if there is a question in that format, so I'm basically asking for a futuristic event, not the current day event, futuristic event. Okay. And then when you try to answer saying that it would take 35 minutes or it would take 40 minutes, what does that is it associated with? It is a prediction for a future whenever you try to tell about any event. So that is basically prediction. And then it is probabilistic. So like